Is there a scenario where it makes sense for the New Orleans Saints to take the ninth overall pick and trade down in this year's draft? And is there a benefit to doing so if they actually would make that trade? I created a mock draft trying to answer both those questions. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So, kind of setting up a trade down scenario, not real easy. Kind of looking for that plausibility of what happens in the top 8 that we would be thinking, we might want to move down from 9. Kind of came up with one that I think is semi plausible. And the closest I could come to really work with on this, which in this case, look, Ward, Hunter, Carter, Graham, first 4 gone. That is 4 that I have as, yeah, I really want those guys. They're gone. Mabau, Campbell, Sanders, Genty. Genty is the 5th one. So now 5 of my list is gone. And it's leaving McMillan, Barron, Warren, guys we've all talked about on this channel as being very plausible at 9. And in some interesting players like Jihad Campbell, definitely. Will Johnson, definitely. If he clears medicals, he probably joins Barron or possibly gets in front of him as the top guy. And some other interesting names, Mike Green, Malachi Starks, that we haven't talked about a lot. Now, I would full disclosure, I'm more than likely taking Warren at this point. But there could be a scenario that pops up between now and then where calls into question, sort of like McMillan has been, because not too long ago, I'd had said Warren or McMillan definitely. Actually, kind of just did a video about it. But there's some things that might cause you to pause a little bit. You still may take him, but you're going, he's not the sure thing I thought he was. That could still happen to Warren or anybody else on this list, to be honest with you. So leaving open the option, maybe something like that happens. I started looking and going, okay, who can we trade back with? This is plausible enough scenario to work with. And while I'm looking to trade back, I am looking to try to pick up either 2026 first or a second round in 2025. Third, maybe, depending on, but those were my 2 primary targets. And the first round was a no-go of the potential partners that popped up. Second round was doable. Now, the second thing is PFF allows for this. They kind of have a gauge, a percent meter when you start kind of negotiating more or less with teams. I'll give you this if you give me that type for swapping of picks. And it gives you a percent of a trade that may be accepted by who you're talking to. You only have a limited number of times to offer. So I wasn't even offering unless I got that well above a 50% chance of success. And really the only one I got was with Indy. Indy was willing to give a second to swap first. Initially, they rejected it, but I started trying to throw in some 3 picks. The first one I did was our 7th. They took that one, so okay. Good for us, because I think it's very cheap to move down 5 spots. However, I was kind of calculating maybe one of those top guys that I really like, McMillan, Warren, I'm pretty sure I kind of knew wasn't going to be there. Johnson, possibly. They were all going. But I'm okay with that scenario taking Mike Green, who could be the best pure 3-4 outside edge player in this draft. He's not the best edge. That's Abdul Carter. Do not mistake what I just said. But as it goes, he may be the second best guy. That's arguable. But when you're getting into that 3-4 look of a pure pass rusher, they can go get the quarterback. He is up there. Bit of a project at 14, honestly, because he's going to have to work on other parts of his game. But it's a good starting point, and we have pretty much nobody like him on our roster right now, and could immediately, just in passing situations alone, if he would pan out, be the guy, okay, we're getting pressure every time that quarterback is backed up behind the chains. Worth a look, I do believe. there are some other names there we could have taken. Also, the possibility of trading down even further. And when we look at the total first round, we'll talk about that a little bit. But after taking him, moving in the second round, need for the Saints, big physical or a physical, bigger receiver, able to move the chains, contested catch guy, kind of help you out in the red zone, but still able to make plays. All the stuff we talked about McMillan, and there's a lot of talk. Higgins may be just as good, possibly even a better pick. Steve Smith, ex-wide receiver for the Panthers and Ravens, had a lot to say on that subject. And I don't know if I'm going to accept the fact that you pass on McMillan, hoping Higgins is there. But if you do pass on McMillan and Higgins is there at 40, I'm getting sold enough that you probably want to grab him. He feels an offensive need that at some point when we do add a quarterback, a type of receiver he's going to need. And currently we don't have. The other second round pick, the one we got from Indy, love Donovan Jackson. We had the live stream last night. We talked about Higgins, by the way, if you want to go back and rewatch it, but we definitely had long conversations about Donovan Jackson, how much I love him as a second round pick. And I'd be willing to take him at 40 if necessary. What he is a very good left guard for 2.5 years for Ohio State starter that had to move to left tackle last year when their left tackle got knocked out by injury for the rest of the season. Played well at left tackle. Ohio State wins the national championship. And I'm looking like, at the very least, you have a backup swing tackle, or swing lineman, rather. Something we didn't really have last year. That going, he can play tackle or guard. I'm pretty sure he's going to be good enough to be able to be a depth piece on that line and come in and fill in for you. But the best case scenario, he could be the guy that wins the left guard job as a rookie. I would not put it past him or a couple of the other linemen that fit this scheme in this draft about inside day 2 picks in the interior offensive line. There could be some guards that, considering the state of our interior offensive line, could come in there and make a play for winning a starting job. I definitely think he's one of them. Got back in the second round a third time, and it cost me round 371, number 71, round 4, 131. Running backs were starting to fall, and I did not want to wait too long. Quinshon Judkins was there, so traded in, got him, solved another big issue for us, running back depth, and a guy that I think is going to be very, very good in the NFL and could be a go-to running back. He could be your number one. I really do believe that. And I love the running back depth. You can wait till the third, possibly even the fourth, hell, even day 3, get very good running backs. They might not be the quote-unquote every down type back that I believe Judkins and a few of the guys in this area that we're going to draft in a second are. But if you wanted to wait and mix and match your running back backfield, you could do it with this draft. You could find some pieces in there to fit in with you have, instead of looking for a guy that will eventually take over for what you have. And I think that's what you have in Judkins. Kamara, we don't know how much, 30 plus. We don't know how many seasons we really have left in him. And until we get Kendre Miller healthy and through a whole season, you just can't count on him. And I think Judkins is a guy that you really, really need to think about making a trade up if necessary to grab, especially when all the other ones are falling. And if he's falling and say his backfield made Ohio State, Trayvon Henderson is there, you do the same thing for him. The last 2 picks, round 3 at 93, Andrew Mukuba, and round 4, 112, Dione Walker. Both areas that I think you need some depth in, and I think they can both give you that. They both do some. Mukuba on the back end is a guy that I like a lot. I think he can do multiple things for you as a safety if you need to, or even possibly slide in the slot corner if you have to and get some snaps there from him. But I think on the back end, I believe he's a pretty good tackler. He's a good defender back there. He's not super polished. I don't think he's ready to come in and take over your free safety role but is a guy that may be able to get some snaps when you have to go to more defensive backs or fill in for injury. But more importantly, a guy you may be able to develop while Honey Badger's still there before you have to replace Honey Badger. And if you can get him developed, you may have just drafted by 2026, maybe 2027, the guy that is going to take over for Honey Badger, be there for a while, be able to make some plays, be able to clean up the back end for you. Dion Walker, interior defensive line for the Saints is getting older, not younger. And even though Walker is not a top guy in the defensive interior on this draft, he is a guy that brings some ability and another one that, like, hey, he may need some development, but he should be able to show up and contribute as a rookie, if not by his second year. If you can get him a little better in some of the areas where he's not as good, you're going to have a very solid, good NFL player. And a fourth round in this draft, I think, whether it's him or another position, that you're going to see a lot of guys fall in that category, and it's going to be incumbent on this staff to use those picks and do something that the Saints have not done very well recently, develop these guys that are rotational back-end players. But within a year or two, get them up the depth chart. And if you can really get them to tap into their potential, yeah, maybe they're pushing to take a spot on the top of the depth chart. We need to find more and more of those type guys. And I think at 3 and 4, those 2/3 and 2/4, if we don't trade any of them, you're going to have to take some shots on some of these guys. And I think you can find some that are going to work out. I don't think this is the perfect trade down scenario, but I do think it's kind of approaching what it could look like. And I think it could be kind of dependent on how that top 8 shake out. And subsequently, we're still getting evaluation and finding stuff out. It's not like any of this is set in stone. And some things could still change over roughly the next 2 weeks and kind of reshuffles that. And if that reshuffle happens or that doubt creeps in, where you're only like, look, there's 5 guys that we really, really want. And if they're not there, what are we going to do? You have to leave open the trade down option, because I think at that point, what you're talking about is a large group of players with high floors. They're going to bring something to the table. The question mark trying to figure out is how much can we develop them? How much can they get better? And potentially, can they turn into, after a couple of years in the league, going from backup depth piece, developmental piece, to full-blown guy you count on to go make plays and help you win games, if not a legitimate starter? I think you got to weigh those two things. And I think this is a draft where the right scenario falls and the right coaching staff in place, which supposedly we have, the move is to trade down. It's a matter of question if Mickey Loomis wants to do it. Last thing, just to show this, that's how the first round kind of shook out. And just wanted to point out that after Pittsburgh did not take a quarterback at 21, I started kind of simulating trying to jump back into the end of the first round to trade back in. Jackson Dart was still there. And honestly, I think Jackson Dart is underrepresented in this draft as a whole, because he stuck around for a lot longer than he should have. Probably some of the other quarterbacks involved too. But could have traded in and got him. And I'm talking about running back, getting Marion Hampton is clearly the number 2 guy in here. And in fact, one of the better offers that I would have made that I'd have felt comfortable pulling the trigger on was with Washington at 29, which was number 40 and number 93 overall. And I'm just like, I don't want to part with 40. So he didn't offer, but my intention was Dart or Hampton, and Washington actually took Hampton with that pick at 29. So I'm kind of like, maybe on point in that area if that's what you want to do. You may have to give up a second and third or some day 2, day 3 combination of picks to be able to do it. But in that scenario, you traded down a little bit and then you use some of the capital from that to trade back up. I think that's also plausible. And that would be more Mickey Loomis's alley, because at least he gets to trade back into the first round, which he would probably love doing, because that's what Mickey does, right? So overall, 100% representation, what a trade down would look like? Hell no. But I think a lot of this scenario can kind of give us the idea that if the opportunity presents, and most of that is going to be you didn't have the opportunity to draft the high end studs at 9 you wanted, moving down and being able to maneuver a little bit in this draft, especially from that mid first to probably the top of the third, a large group of really good football players. As we talk about the floor is good. It's just that ceiling that's going to be the question mark with them. And if you can develop them, you can get them to hit potentially what their ceiling is, you're going to wind up with pretty good football players. It again, to reiterate the point, you just might be waiting until 2026, possibly 2027 to reap the benefits of that. Something else you have to understand in trading down from 9 and not trying to lock in on one of those few available top guys. So that's what I got for you today. If you like kind of the thought process here about what we're trying to do, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if not, I'm sure in the comments you're going to tell me how wrong I am, and hey, I could be. I think like 9 is like the dicey, like on the fence spot. The more we kind of get close to the draft, that's kind of what I look at it going. Not only in which pick you take, but also whether you're going to go up or down, right? So, first time here, please go ahead, hit it, give me a subscribe. Make sure you do give me that thumbs up. Let me know, like I said, in the comments. Tell me what you think about the trade down scenario overall. And if you want to start picking this apart, I don't have a problem with it because I think you could pick it apart, quite honestly. But again, just trying to get the impression. Make sure you keep your notifications hit because we had a lot of fun on the live stream last night on this draft stuff. More than likely, we won't live stream again till the Thursday night, the first round of the draft. We will definitely be live that night, and definitely through at least the Saints pick, and probably likely be on for a little ways. But I think it's going to be a fun time that see all this come to fruition, and everybody kind of throwing in what they think, and then seeing what the reality of what happens and what that means for the rest of the draft and the future of the Saints. So. And we keep talking up the live stream on draft night, obviously. Till then, beginning kicking out some videos. You like what you see, please go ahead and make sure you subscribe. And till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.